Let's try multiple regression in SPSS. So we're going to go to Analyze, Regression. We just want to do basic, boring, linear regression. And so here we've got 4 different variables, and we're interested in knowing how does the number of times a song is played on your radio and the attractiveness of band impact song sales as much as previously determined advertising budget. So we're looking for sales as our dependent variable, and now we know, based upon the discussion, that advertising budget was previously determined to have an impact. So we will put advertising budget in first, and we're going to force it in. So forced entry, so when you look at method, we're going to force it in, so use enter. And then we want to use a different method for block 2 because we really aren't sure about the number of plays or the attractiveness of band and what impact that has on the record sales. So there's a couple of ways you could do this. You could do a stepwise regression and add one at a time. Let's just stick with the forced entry just as an example. Again, how you do this, you just need to justify which one of these methods you use. I'm going to use enter for this element. And that pretty much takes care of the block piece. Now let's go ahead and go through statistics. What do we need to look at? We do want our estimates. We do want the confidence intervals at 95%. We would also like our covariance matrix. We do want the R-squared change, descriptives, part and partial correlations, collinearity diagnostics. We want the Durbin-Watson. We want case-wise statistics. And we want to look at outliers that are beyond 3 standard deviations. So if a data point is beyond 3 standard deviations, it's well outside of the norm. If you really want to look at between the 1.96 and the 3, we can just drop this down to 2, and that's what I actually prefer that. But you could use 3 because that is based upon the z-scores for outliers. I just like to use 2 to see if there's really, do I have something that's kind of an outlier? So that's why I use 2. Alright, when we go to plots, we want to look at our z predicted and our residual. We also want a histogram and our normal probability plot and all partial plots. We're going to have a lot of data at the end of this. What do we need to save? We're going to want to save in our spreadsheet. It's going to save all of this information. We don't really need 2 unstandardized or studentized versions of the residuals, just the standardized and those that have been deleted. Influence statistics. Again, let's stick with the standardized and the covariance ratio. Distances, we're going to want all 3 of those. We don't need to worry about prediction intervals. And that is pretty much it. And then we go to options. Those are fine to use. Style and bootstrap are slightly different. We don't need to worry about that. And then we hit OK. And our multiple regression will run, and it usually takes a little bit of time. And here is all of our output, pages after pages output, which we'll talk about in the multiple regression analysis piece. And let's go back to our main data file, and you see that we have a ton more information here. So when we do this, we're actually going to have to go back to this data and do some exploring within this data set to find out some more information. Again, it's more looking at the Malhanobis distance, the leverage values, the covariances. So when we want to do our case studies, that will be in here as well.